Ready or not, here I come now. Let's play hide and seek. Prepare to the count. Here I come now. Let's play hide and seek. Hiding out, off my ground. No one dares to make a sound. Round and round and round and round. No one wants to be first found.
Good afternoon, you everybody. Both, all of us. I'll tell you a story. This is years ago, and this has always stuck with me. Both, all of us, because a friend of mine, he had a boat, and all of us would just get together, just sporadically, just all of a sudden. Hey, let's go here, let's go here, let's go here. Okay, let's get together. So we had a bunch of people going, and we're all supposed to meet at his house, and got there, and it was me and him. And we're like, well, where's everybody else? And it was funny because there was a bunch of people that were coming. So it was just, everybody just bowed out. It was just really strange because nobody did that, right? I mean, he was a blast. He's one of my best friends. Still is to this day. Anyway, he looks at me and he says, well, looks like it's just both, all of us. And that has always stuck with me, both, all of us. Anyway, he had a bunch of good ones all the time, but that was my favorite. Anyway, so both, all of us. I'm just going back, and I'm looking through my memos. I mean, I got so many, you guys. I mean, I probably have something in there that's a freaking gold mine. I don't even know it, because my memo, like, that's probably half of my phone stuff is on there. I mean, it's like I save everything in memo form, and where it comes to like links and all this stuff. And I just found a couple ones of them when I was looking for a different name. And I can't find that name, which is so weird. I mean, I know this person. I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want. I want to make sure of something before I do. But anyway, this was in there, and I just thought it was kind of interesting because I hadn't seen this one in a long time, if I even recall seeing it at all, because it's been, well, that long. So let's see. This is the scene of Idaho student slayings was somber as police grappled with public response. Is this the one I even wanted? This isn't the one I wanted. Oh man, I just drives me nuts when it does this. Let me look at my other phone. Hold on. I might read you the one I want off my other phone. Just a second. Find it here. Yeah, so I'm going to read it off my other phone. As we're looking at this one. So the one I'm reading from is from the Today Show. So it says, hey, hold on one second. Okay, it says, scene of Idaho student slayings was somber as police grappled with public response. As 1 month passes without an arrest in the killings of 4 University of Idaho students, local police have had to contend with a surge of media coverage amid speculation. And then it shows like I will get these photos that there's like a video and stuff on here too. So this one was on, oh, maybe this is the same one. Hold on. Okay, never mind. What? This is weird. What's it doing this? Okay, it's the same one. So I'm going to read it from here. Police arrived at the rental house in Moscow, Idaho, where 4 University of Idaho students had been fatally stabbed hours prior in their bedrooms, to find friends and neighbors gathered outside. So, right there is, that's part of it. So I'm going to use my little tablet thingy here. Let me see now I do this. And I'm going to go, friends and neighbors gathered outside. Okay? They were crying, and some of the younger officers who had never handled such a violent crime scene faced an emotional, draining task. The scene wasn't chaos. Wasn't chaos? Moscow Police Chief Roger Lanier recalled in a video posted Tuesday by the department reflecting on the case a month after the November 13th slayings, which remain unsolved. The neighborhood was very, very somber. The small police force scrambled for an all-hands-on-deck response, which was probably not the best thing to do to get everybody there on that property and trample all over it and every the surrounding area as well. Probably wasn't the best thing to do. They should have locked it down and brought in, done something different. They should have locked it down of what they should have done. So they scrambled for an all-hands-on-deck response, which Lanier said included calling the Idaho State Police to help with to process the scene. So they called the Idaho State Police to help process the scene. But the lack of a suspect and concerns over an ongoing threat to the community only amplified public attention on the case and a growing demand for safety assurances from law enforcement, which, hindsight, now knowing what I know or think I know or what we know, you know how that is. How could they have done this differently and still kept their lie about it? Does that make sense? Because it's the outcome would still be the same. They still had to cover their butts and lie to the public. But what would have been a better lie? Does that make sense? I'm just curious what you guys think about that. Oops. Back that out of there. Okay. So, isn't that guy standing there? Isn't he the new chief of police? Right in the doorway there? That's such an odd picture. Someone standing down far away with a telescope, with a lens on that's zoomed in. But it's hard to tell where they're at. See, there's like a road beyond these cement steps right here. That's a very weird picture. Very strange. Behind the scenes, city officials grappled with how to manage the surge of media coverage in their rural city of about 26,000 residents, where the last homicide had been 7 years earlier. Okay, so that last homicide that was 7 years earlier was committed by a guy named John Lee. Now, John Lee, he went in, he shot 4 people. He unalived 3 of them. One of them was a guy visiting Dave Trail. He's a big property owner in Moscow. He's an insurance guy, alumni of all Sigma Chi. All of his boys went there. He went there. He's been there for forever, and he's very well known and very well liked, from what I can understand, from what I read. And he also has sings. So he's got a singing quartet that he does, and he would travel around and sing to collect funds so that he could put it towards the Sigma Chi home that they have now. That is the home that David Trail, the one that was killed in the 7 years earlier, right? So there was David Trail, there was the mother of John Lee, and then there was the woman that John Lee's mother loved to go visit every day at Arby's. It was her favorite person there, was the manager. And the guy that didn't die, he had come down from Seattle to talk to Dave about insurance policy or something or other, a rental or something like that, because Dave had a bunch of rentals. And actually, John Lee, the guy that killed him, he was one of his renters, one of Dave's renters. Now, before he got there, he killed his mother. Then he drove to Dave Trail's office, and he walked in, walked straight up to the desk. The guy that was visiting from Seattle, his back was to the door. He walked straight up to Dave, and he shot him, I think they said 4 times right in the face. He hit the ground. The guy turned around, shot the guy sitting in the chair across from Dave in the leg, I believe, or in the back. Maybe it was the back. And this is from, now this story, I have not been able to find since, but it's coming from the guy that got shot that lived. He said when he saw Dave, after he saw Dave hit the floor and he saw the guy turn around, he said he knew he was going to shoot him, that the guy was going to shoot him. And he did, he says, and then he looked down and he saw Dave as the guy was walking to exit, and he noticed that Dave was still alive on the floor. And the guy, John Lee, noticed that too, and he turned back around, walked back up to Dave, and shot him one more time right in the head, and then turned around and walked out. That's when he got in his car, and he drove to Arby's, and he went through the drive-thru, and he asked for the manager by name, because that was his mother's favorite person. And when she came to the window, he shot her, and he killed her too. And then he drove off, and they caught him not much longer. It didn't take much longer to catch him after that, because everybody in town knew who the guy was. They all knew him. The chief of police at the time knew his family very well. In fact, the chief of police talks about that in those JLR recordings that Sleuthy Goosey had put out and JLR put out, and I put some stuff out on them as well. There's a section in there where Sean Cohen is interviewing the chief of police, the ex-chief of police, and they talk about John Lee. They talk about this particular murder that happened, homicide that happened 7 years earlier, and he tells him that he knew who he was. Him and their family was good friends, so they all knew each other. I just find that so weird. Okay, so now, mind you, half of these residents are students, right? So you've got half of a town with people that live there, work there, have homesteaded there, and then you've got the other half that are students that come in from the area. They come in from the area. They possibly live there. They they come in from out of state. They come in from all over, out of the country. There's exchange students, and then you've got the next day after this particular homicide happens, you've got your Thanksgiving holiday break. Everybody takes off out of school. You get your homework in, you take off for a couple weeks, go visit family, get to the holidays, come back at, beginning of the year, a little bit after, and start all over again. So in my thought process, my feeling is that these happen during this time, because there's a lot of very terrible things that happen to people right around this time frame, right? Being this month and such. So it's, in my opinion, that this is a planned date. This is a date that is set because of the part where students are going to be leaving. And so there will be those people, that large group of people, that whether they're part of this, a suspect or not, they have left campus and they are no longer there to be interviewed, to be, any of that stuff. And that also means that if they are leaving, if there's any evidence or anything like that, they would more than likely, if they're savvy enough to do this at this time where they know they're going to be leaving, they're more than likely apt to take this evidence with them and discard it elsewhere. And that could be anywhere. I mean, literally anywhere. I mean, it could be a group of people that takes one piece of each piece of evidence and discards it in their own fashion. It could be anything. It could be that they took the evidence and prior to leaving, planted it right there in that town somewhere for safekeeping, for when the time comes, when they need to, blow the lid off of it, as in framing someone. Just a speculation, just talking out loud, just working things out in my head here. So, you've got all these students that are now no longer on campus because they've left to go, fly to a foreign country, to go lay in the sun, go open up their new Uber Eats business in Spain, hang out in Puerto Vallarta or Puerto Rico. There's many, many, many different things that they could have done, could have went, did do, did go. And there wasn't pictures at first, but they started trickling in after the fact. So they started about a year later is when the pictures of these vacations and these exits, so to speak, that start showing up. And that's also when names and faces, for me, started to connect big time. I mean, I knew some of them, but some of other ones just hadn't connected in my head yet. And that's when they started connecting, is when those pictures started trickling in. And it was nothing, like, it was so smokescreen. Oh my gosh. It was like, wow. Well, you got to think, Sigma Chi, they took down, it was either 2 or 4 years, I want to say 4 years, of their past Facebook posts, and I think Facebook or Instagram, one or the other. But anyway, literally, that's a huge chunk to take down, to hide from the public, right? To lock down. Why did they lock it down? Other frats didn't lock theirs down. Why did Sigma Chi lock theirs down? Could it be that that Reed, who was the president of the chapter there that particular time, could it be that that's his job because of media, because Ethan was in Sigma Chi, that's the first place they'd go to and want to question? Possibly. And that would be a job that he would have to do, because there's, certain things in the handbook that are your job to take care of. Just like there's certain things in that handbook that, like the code of silence, that you do not talk about these things. You do not repeat them. You do not even talk amongst yourselves. I believe there's a point in time where they do end up talking about these things, but not like you would normally talk about them, right? They don't just sit around and shoot the shit, That's not how they would talk about something like this. It's very under the radar, low key, cryptic, that kind of thing is how I feel about it. Now, I don't know this for sure, but it kind of all points in that direction. I mean, we've seen it, we've watched it. And not only that, but it's like they're meant to feel at that very moment, but only at that very moment. And then it's all back to norm. Everything's back to normal. Campus is good. There's no danger. Life as it was. In the quote of Molly, dare I say, the best semester ever. What? And this was right after the slangs, right? Dare I say? Yeah, dare you say? The connects that start showing up in these little trickling in pictures and such that were starting to come in were very interesting. Chapter with other chapters, that's just not normal from what I've ever heard about sororities or fraternities. They stick with their own. There's almost like this rivalry type thing. They don't just protect each other. But now thinking back here, what is it that they are doing? Like, let's say they're going to go after Sigma Chi because that's where Ethan was, right? So they do what us would think a guilty party would do, and they take down their photographs. They take down all that stuff, right? So here we are scrambling to find these photos and all this other stuff when the other chapters aren't locked down. Their stuff's still out there for the most part. I mean, some of them was, but for the most part. But we're concentrating on Sigma Chi. So they're diverting our attention in one direction, while maybe in another direction, think politics here, during the elections, how that goes. We aren't looking at these other ones that could be the ones that did it or part of it or whatever, as they go about their business. And so in this way, you've got these frats protecting each other. But when it comes right down to it, how does that pan out in the end? I'm curious how that would pan out in the end when for instance, something is found and it is, say it's one of the fraternities that, for instance, the three boys in Banfield, okay? Those three guys belong to Alpha Kappa Lambda, right? Do you know who their president was at the time this happened? Well, where they were standing right by Banfield, as they were looking across the way, they weren't looking, they were standing facing Sigma Chi. So they were looking that way, but they weren't looking at that house. They were turning their heads to the right, and they were looking, to the right of Sigma Chi, which is further down. More like what would be like behind them. That, my friends, is the Alpha Kappa Lambda fraternity house, is what they were looking at. And the president of the time of these slayings was none other than Nick Green, Scott Green's son. And no, I'm not kidding you. So what better way let's back that up. So you can kind of get the gist of why this university in Scott was all up in there every freaking day. Because it wasn't really brought out that I'm aware of that his son was the president of that fraternity that those boys were being hazed into. And the next semester or the next chapter, how they do it, whatever interval they do, or they have the president and the magistrate and all this stuff, where they elect their council for that particular chapter. The next particular round about for that, all three of those boys ended up being on the council. Like, whatever it was, they had a title. Now, what does one have to do or have to finish or what do they have to do to get a title? Who elects them on, and why do they get elected? And what and maybe for that position, certain positions, what gets them there? Whose vote gets in there? Or is it just you passed the test, you did this, you made it through, you didn't say anything, code of silence, you collected your white cross during the Black Supper or after the Black Supper, and made it back to your destination within the time allotted that you make it back. Because there is in the ritual book these hazings at this particular time, there's a very strict sequence of things that they need to do and time-wise as well. Now, these rituals typically take place, they start like around midnight, 10 p.m. to like midnight is when they do like all the ritualistic stuff where they do like the supper. They have to go, say talk about the things that they learned, like they have to know about the chapter and the questions that they're asked about the past alumni, things like that. And then they are given a very like a very light meal, like very light. Now, this is what it says in the ritual book. This is when they first, wrote this stuff out. Nowadays, it's typically, from what I've seen, is not like that, because these guys are deprived of sleep at this point. They are exhausted. They haven't eaten. They're drunk. They quite possibly have been given other substances. And they're like basically delirious, right? And on the verge of collapse. And that's in most cases what I've seen. Now, this is not what I saw in this particular series of stuff. I feel it was more like the old ritual type book, where they gave them a very light supper, and they were put to bed. Meant they had to go to sleep or in their room or whatever. And then at a certain time, they are summoned, and they are to literally just get up out of bed, whatever they're wearing, and they are either taken. Most of the times they're driven a certain distance away. Usually it's a couple miles. They're blindfolded, and then they're let out of the vehicle. They unblindfold them, tell them to make their way back to the chapter house. Meanwhile, they are to find the white cross. And whatever they're given an envelope. There's directions on the envelope, and inside is what they need to accomplish, what they need to finish or do, whatever. Now, other circumstances. So they say that what they do is they do these in intervals. Like, it's not just a group of guys that they're sending out to do this. They do it in intervals where they take one, and then they wait 15, 20, 30 minutes, and then they send the next guy out. Well, that's not always the case. In some cases, they send 2 or 3, up to 4, I believe they said. They are all given their envelope. There's a map on the outside, and they are to follow this map to where they're supposed to go, to where they're supposed to find this white cross. They're supposed to collect this white cross. And then after that, when they get it, they're supposed to make their way back to the destination, which is the chapter house, or wherever they gathered for their secret, rituals and their ceremony stuff. And then at that point, they will be, entered into this cult. I'm going to call it a cult. And then that's when the Black Supper begins. Now, the Black Supper typically starts between the hours of 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., from what I've read. The times seem to work out just about right in this thing, right? So, and there is a time limit. There's a time limit. They're supposed to be done by a certain time. And so those boys looked to me like they were racing, because their time limit was about to expire. And they were trying to get back before it expired. And that was when? 3 o'clock hour, right? It's also disturbing, isn't it? And when there's like a big, I don't know if this was a special one, or if it, obviously it did, there's things that happened much different than other times, I'm certain. Unless we just haven't heard about them, because that would make sense too, because they hide a lot of stuff, right? In my opinion. Probably yours too. But was this one special or different because in this particular chapter was the son of the president of the University of Idaho. And on many of these things, these times when they do this in I don't know, just ceremony where these boys come in, alumni is there. Alumni is big in this. Alumni happens, and they are there. And like many times, if a boy wants to back out of this particular thing that they have to do in order to get in, they will call in an alumni, and usually one of importance that they are well aware of, to help the kid decide he's going to do it or not, whatever it is they do. I don't know, but they're brought in, and there's ones that are actually on call for certain. They all take their turn. Put it that way. It's like a rotate. It's like a, like at work. You put, like it's like a cakewalk. You got to put your time in, and if you don't, then you're odd man out, and probably you don't get the protection that other ones do, that do put their time in and do follow the rules, do keep the code of silence, do show up when alumni is needed or whatnot. Thinking it this way, this all, to me, makes absolute sense, that this was exactly what it looked like to me in the beginning. It was some type of a hazing type thing, and that either went wrong, and there was other entities that were involved in it, that like it wasn't just one thing that happened that night. It was a couple different things, maybe even three, which could very well be. But everybody, whether at the grub truck or whatever we saw in those body cams like that, and we were watching them, knew something was going on. Whatever it was, there was something that they were well aware of that was going on, that they knew was going to happen, and they were peanuts in the gallery, or they were participants. They were part of it, because there's certain things. I don't know if you guys have seen that Sigma Chi video that where it shows it's really quick action, and I think Ferris, he's one of the Sigma guys. He's probably the one filming it. And they're all racing around the street, and there's a few boys in there that are shirtless. They've got things drawn on them. They're basically, I think some of them their hands are tied, and they're being chased through the streets in the dark. There's vehicles involved. There's boys and girls involved. They're slapping them. They're kicking them. They're tripping them. It looks like there's mud or poop or something smeared on their chest, and there's a lettering on their chest. They're having to yell out commands, all the while being chased, probably to get to a certain point to get something. I don't know. So when we're hearing things in the Linda Lane and all those things, could this be what's going on? And part of that is that this is this ritual that they have. This, basically, from what the video makes me feel, is that they're being hunted, that they're being meant to feel crazy, like they don't know what, like a mirrored, like a horror house, like, not horror house, a horror. That word, those two words are hard to say together. Okay. So when you're in the carnival, and there's the house with all the mirrors, right? And everywhere you turn, there's some weird face up close, or like, like the eyeball type shape looking at you, like concave, all that kind of, it's like these faces are bulbous, and they're thin and slender, and they back up, and they're just all these weird, yucky, like just creepy, clownish, awful looking things. And the way that this video was filmed, that's what it looked like to me. They were trying to get across to the people watching this particular film. Zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, fast forward, quickly, dark, like blurts of light. I mean, it's like to make you feel crazy, like it's a situation that you had to get out of, but you had to really fight to get out of. That's what that felt like to me. And that's a lot of the sounds, over there feel to me like that is something that could have been part of it. Like you hear in those little lanes, you hear boo, you see, like someone saying boo. And in the very beginning, they were talking about people that had on masks and they were jumping out and scaring, like when the girls got home and they would jump out from somewhere, like bush or something, whatever, and scare them, boo. And so that's where I feel like everybody had their part in this, because it's not just when they're being hazed. This isn't just, I mean, I'm sure there are particular nights where it's just the frats that are doing it, but they're all involved. And do you guys know that there's really no such thing as a sorority? They're all actually fraternities. Isn't that interesting? And not only that, but these off-campus houses with the girls in them that are the sorority houses, allegedly, that's not what they are. These are frat houses. The girls are there to do that. It's basically to cover it up. Basically, the girls are there to take the fall. If you really want to ask me what it is, to take the blame for this. I mean, look at every time they went to a noise complaint. One in particular we saw. Hunter answers the door with Conrad, right? And the one time, nobody that lived there was there. Well, Bethany was. I mean, she pretended like it wasn't her, but she was there. And actually, you could hear. I mean, I believe there was other people there too. I thought Kaylee was at first, but I don't think that's what they were calling. They were calling the name Bailey because Emma Bailey happened to be there. And she walked out. You can see her. She walked out. She was wearing the shorts. She was with her friend. Now, that friend, in my opinion, is either her friend Marilyn or it's her little sister. Her little sister, yes. She has a little sister and she also has a brother. And when the cops walked up and she walked out and she says, oh, hey, hi, hey. She knew those cops. And the cops knew her. And they were okay with her being there, in my opinion, because I believe, more than likely, she alerted them to the house. Because they're all in this together. Why do you think Emma was treated like she was during that DWI? I mean, for Christ's sake, she got to go to the bathroom before she even blew on the breathalyzer. They don't do that. They make you wait. They'll make you pee your pants before they let you go to the bathroom before you blow, because it gets rid of the alcohol that's in your system and it causes it to not blow a accurate level of whatever alcohol's in your system. They do not let you go to the bathroom. Not only that, but whatever she could have had on her, she could have gotten rid of down the toilet. I mean, really? I mean, anybody watching that would even... there's so many things about that thing that were just like, you got to be kidding me. Well, she gets out of the car and she drops the scarf she's wearing right down on the ground. And the cop, and she walks right past it like it didn't even happen. The cop says, oh, you dropped this. She goes, picks it up and puts it on the back trunk of her car, the scarf that she was just wearing. She doesn't put it back on. No, she puts it on the trunk, on the back trunk hatch of her car. And then a little while later, one of the occupants that's in that car goes around and gathers it and gets it, takes it off the back of the car and puts it in the car. You tell me that wasn't suspicious. But the cop didn't do anything about it. I mean, I could go on and on about that arrest, but I guess I need to get back to the story here. Because like me, I go off on a little tangent here. So on the morning of November 16th, 3 days after the killings, Moscow Mayor Art Beige, whatever, emailed the police chief James Fry to ask him to respond to reporters, even if it was a no comment at this time. Are you getting this, you guys? So they didn't even respond. So the actual mayor emailed him and asked him to respond to reporters, even if it was a no comment at this time. Anything. Please say anything. It's 3 days later, and nobody knows anything. I mean, what? I fear the lack of direct communication is proving to be a problem in reassuring the public and keeping the media from blowing this story up through rumor and supposition. According to copies of emails provided by the city in response to a public records request. What he wrote to, what he had to say, the mayor. Now, the mayor did actually come out and blurt out that this was a crime of passion in the beginning, so he's not any better himself. So Fry told Beige, I think I'll paint the ceiling beige. You guys remember that joke? Anyway. Fry told Beige he had asked the Idaho State Police for help, responding to media inquiries so that hopefully it goes smoother in the near future. So right here, Fry's putting the blame on Idaho's ISP, right off the get-go. But I asked them for help. Wow, pointing fingers already. Hopefully it goes smoother in the near future. Moscow police have since set up a communications team to handle reporters' inquiries that includes a state police spokesman. Their communications team. I'm not even going to go into that one. Beige's concern came as the local police faced mounting questions over their messaging. In the days immediately following the killings, police said the attacks were targeted and that there was no threat to the public despite the assailants still being on the loose. That is just right there is just like it's just a dog chasing its tail. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's targeted, but the guy's still out. I mean, it just that right there, that means nothing. That is no confirmation of any type of safety. No, that's no confirmation of anything, except that they're just idiots for even putting out that statement right there, whatever they just said right there. Then, during a news conference on November 16th, which had been planned before Beige emailed Fry, the police chief said, "We cannot say there is no threat to the community." Since then, police have said the killer's target could have been the victims or the house itself. Nothing like laying out this just wide range. I mean, this is such a huge radius of what anybody could take from that, right? I mean, anything. I mean, it's wide open. Wide open. Oh, that's interesting. So this name, this Tarek, where I got this information in my memos, I have a bunch of stuff on that person. So I'll have to look into that because I was wondering who that was when I was looking at my notes. So the Haidia Tarek, sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, a senior at the University of Idaho and editor-in-chief of the school newspaper, the Argonaut, was critical of authorities' initial response, telling NBC News last month that she was frustrated by mixed messaging and lack of information. So you've got the school paper for the university, trying to get the word out to calm nerves, to provide any information in case there's other steps that need to be taken in to protect the safety and of the other students that are there and anybody else in that surrounded area. And she's not getting anything. She's getting mixed messages and lack of information. In the weeks since then, said Tarek, 21, the department had improved its communication. If she leaves a voicemail seeking comment, she actually gets a call back, she said. And people can now sign up for news alerts and access information through venues beyond what appeared to be the department's favored platform, Facebook, she said. Now, that is a problem, in my opinion. They need, they're literally, they need a big boy and big girl website, right? They need a big boy and big girl platform, not Facebook. Yeah, Facebook's good for some things, but not in this fashion, right? So I agree with her. But she doesn't think these improvements will do much to change people's perceptions. Is that even a word? I might have made up a new word. Perceptions. Yeah, because it's already been embedded in them. You think about what you're told, for instance, what we were all told. What you seed, you breed. They're planting this seed, and that the first thing, is what is the strongest for you and what you remember the most, because it's the first thing that initially came up. And so it's hard to retract that from your brain, in my opinion. It can be done obviously, but it's there. It's there. It's planted. Now what you going to do? Bring in a whole big old ton of dirt, cover that up, and plant some more stuff? Pretty much what everybody had to do, and then dig it out, fill it back up, dig it out, fill it back up. We've been doing this since the beginning of this case. They really messed up from the get-go, Tarek said. So the rest of the communications, or whatever they're doing with the investigation, it's been tainted. Even if they've improved, people aren't going to see that. Hands down, I totally agree with her. I didn't even read this before that, but yeah, we're on the same page, man. I'm telling you. Absolutely. Now, here's one thing too. Did they do this on purpose? Was this part of the scheme, the plan, the schematic of the Idaho4 atrocities? Was this part of the plan? Because if it was, then they did their due diligence to whoever or whatever. It's a what at this point. It's a monster. To ensue confusion and, just confusion, plain and simple. Oh, look at Ethan. That's such a great picture of Ethan. They're all so pretty and handsome. Look at that. Ethan and Maddie, Jana and Kaylee. I like how there's orange with Ethan and they're across from each other. I wish Maddie and Kaylee would have been facing each other on this one, though. That would have been kind of cool. But can't have everything. A lack of answers as to who would have killed the 4 victims. Friends Madison Moken, 21. Look how cute she is. Kaylee Gonsalves, 21. Such a pretty girl. Ooh, we can see what's in her sunglasses. See the reflection. Might have to go back and look at that. Ooh, and the truck too. Ah, look at that truck behind her. Isn't that Reed's truck? That's Reed's truck. Ugh, that's weird. Xana Kernodle, 20. Just such a natural beauty. Just the ivory girl, right? So pretty. and Ethan Chapin, 20. The guy everybody looked up to, the fun guy, easygoing, never got mad. His ears are awfully red in that picture. He's got really pretty color eyes too. Handsome guy. So, the lack of answers for these has left a community on edge. The weapon used, believed to be a large knife, has not been recovered. And the way they went for the K-bar from the beginning, to me, it was so suspicious, so sus. It wasn't even, it just was like, what? That right there just, whether the sheath or not, because I don't believe the sheath has anything to do with it. It's just, I think that's just it's really nothing. The K-bar thing just drives me nuts. I don't want to go there. Some University of Idaho students chose to leave campus early before the Thanksgiving break and finish the semester virtually, while family members of some of the victims have criticized police for not releasing more information about what they know. Exactly. So I didn't realize that they weren't done with their semester yet, I thought break was like kind of the next day, but literally they took off before that. And the dean of students and the president actually made, in these pressers, literally said, we, of course, go. We understand, this is a traumatic thing, which it is, and I get that part. But this is a quadruple homicide. This is a town that has 26,000 residents, in which half of them are college students. Now, just because they're young, they're just starting out in life, and they're blah, 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 does not mean that they are not capable of doing something like this. But everybody seems to be protecting these students and not even questioning that this could have been a student. Cleared. Really? As I'm sitting here, I'm using my hands. I'm like, really? And my hands are like going like crazy. I just realized I was doing that. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, I got to turn the heat on for just a second. It's freezing in here, and I don't want to have to talk over it, so I'm going to pause you for a second. Some University of Idaho students chose to leave campus early before Thanksgiving break and finish the semester virtually, while family members of some of the victims have criticized police for not releasing more information about what they know. The police say they are combating an onslaught of rumors on social media and unfounded claims surrounding the case, and that they cannot release specific information in order to protect the investigation's integrity. Well, you are getting these onslaught rumors on social media because certain fraternities are deleting all of their information years prior to this happening. Go after them. Ask them why they're doing that. And come back and tell us. Lanier on Tuesday said investigators, including dozens of FBI agents across the country, are continuing to prioritize and sort through tips from the public. This investigation is not cold, he said in the department video. We get tips every day that are viable. We get tips every day that are viable. You know what I mean? While the lack of information about the killer has caused anxiety, public officials are asking for patience. Please be patient. Representative Brandon Mitchell, a Republican who represents Moscow in the Idaho State Legislature. Ooh, I'm going to have to look that up and see who the page is for that one. Who runs business for that boy? Is it an alt? Is it Sydney, the bartender? Who could it be? Is it Ferris? Sydney Ferris? I don't know. Fisher? Maybe Fisher. Maybe Barry. Maybe Barry. Barry, quite contrary. How does your Brandon grow? A Republican who represents Moscow in the Idaho state legislature said he tells constituents to have faith in the police and avoid being speculative. Please, dear people, have faith in your law enforcement, for they will get the job done, compel a high water, no matter what. They pull out all the stops. High and low, they'll search for this man. They'll find the right one to finger. Yes, they will. They've done it before, and they'll do it again. Don't you worry, my people. Don't you worry. Have faith in your police and avoid being speculative. It brings a lot of comfort to our area knowing they're working so hard on it. Mitchell said of law enforcement, "It's such a horrific thing that's happened, but I know we're a strong community, and I know we'll be able to pull through it. Once this is all closed and behind us, I think it will be very quick recovery for us because we are so together." Ooh, does that say a whole lot? It brings a lot of comfort to our area knowing they're working so hard on it. Those little gophers, look at them go. Those little peons, look at them go. Look at them. Oh, yeah, they're scrounging out there trying to find something. Look at them go. Digging in this hole, digging in that hole. Ooh, squirrel. Look at them go, those boys. Always been such good boys. It's such a horrific thing that's happened. But I know we're a strong community, and I know we'll all be able to pull through it. Of course, because ties that bind are ties that grind. Because ties that grind are ties that bind. Oh, what a lovely visual that is. Not. My visual is of two knots humping. Why, I don't know, but the ties that grind are the ties that bind. Family, baby. It's all about the family. Once this is all closed, because we know it will be, because that's the way it works there, and behind us, because we are going to bury this fucker deep, I think it will be a quick recovery for us, because we are so together. As in, we are one. Our DNA is one strand. Pure speculation, but not. The emails obtained by NBC News also show how city officials have tried to support one another and maintain morale as they weather the crisis. City officials, including members of the Moscow City Council, praised Fry for his November 16th news conference. Did they now? I would love to see that. I'd like to see that pat on the back. Because I don't believe that one for a second. Or it was like this. "Oh, way to take one for the team, buddy. Slap, slap on the back. Way to go, Fry. Taking one for the team. Good job. You get to retire this year. We're gonna give you a pass on this one. We're gonna get you a get out of jail free card, boy. Good job, you little peon. Good job." I know there are no clear answers right now, but I do think it helps to communicate as much as we can. I appreciate the work you are doing in these incredibly difficult times, Council Member Julia Parker wrote the chief. Now that one right there, that's one to look into. This little Julia Parker, you know what? You know what? Oh my goodness. What if her son, or nephew, or grandkid, who knows, was one of those boys in Banfield? You know, Taylor Parker from Alpha, Kappa, Lambda. You know, whose president was Nick Green. And then you've got Ethan Knight, who very well could be related to Burl's wife, Patricia Knight. And then we get to go with Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Where did Peter Piper go after he picked a peck of pickled peppers? Did he persistently park on Primrose Lane? Probably not. Maybe it was Linda Lane. Weeks later, on December 5th, Fry emailed all police department personnel to thank them for their hard work and CC'd the council. Weeks later, on December 5th, Fry emailed. Weeks later to me sounds like a long time. Like it sounds like weeks later, like at least a couple months. This was on December 5th. Weeks later, on December 5th, Fry emailed all police department personnel, all of them. Yeah, well, in one lump sum. He didn't do it, individually. I highly doubt that. And thanked them for their hard work and CC'd the council. Carbon copied. Blah, 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 blah. Council member Sally Kelly responded, proud of you, all of you. Nothing like a proud mama. A few days later, City Supervisor Bill Belknap sent an email to city staffers praising their work on the annual holiday parade. This brings me back to this. I think it will be a quick recovery for us because we are so together. Nothing like a holiday parade to get your spirits up. Oh, look at the pretty lights, kids. Nothing to see here. No, they're not hypnotizing you. They're just pretty lights. A light is a light. That's all it is. They're just pretty. They are. Look at them. Stare at them for a while. No, those ones over there are better. The ones that are going really fast, twinkling really fast. There you go. Do you feel better now? Thanks, Mom. People were invited to write messages and place yellow roses around a large tree in honor of Mogan, Goncalves, Kernodle, and Chapin. The community has carried such a heavy burden over the last several weeks, and the parade provided the opportunity for the community to come closer, recognize the recent tragic events, and celebrate the season together in healing. They heal with veal, don't they? Or zeal. Is it zeal? Zeal, veal, whatever it is. Councilmember Maureen Laughlin responded that the event was exactly what our town needed. Look at the pretty lights, kids. No, just keep staring at them. Look at the lights. You'll feel better in no time. Look at the lights, babies. There you go. Good job. Do you feel better? Thanks, Mommy. It helped to remind us who we are and what makes Moscow home. It helped us to remind us who we are and what makes Moscow home. Now I know why Scott Green was crying when he was talking about the 4 that lost their lives. I think it was a cry for his son. He was crying out of relief that his son wasn't one of those 4 that lost their lives. Because his son belongs to the same fraternity that those 3 boys on Banfield belonged to. And he was the president of that chapter at the time. Or after the fact, actually. It was at the next semester he became the president. So now I'm curious. Now I've got to look that up. Who was the president at the time? Who were the council members at the time? Very, very, very interesting. Scott was relieved. You bastard. That's why he kept such a close eye. And that's why he was there the whole time. Because you know what? It couldn't get out that his son was in the same fraternity that those 3 Banfield boys were members to. That couldn't get out. And it didn't, did it? Wow. Wowza, wowza, wowza. That's very interesting. Okay. I'll be right back. I'm going to play a little something for you. I'm going to play it in a little bit slower motion, just so you get a good feel for it.
Prepare to be caught. Here I come now. Let's play hide and seek. Hiding on the playground. No one dares to make a sound. Round and round and round and round. No one wants to be first found.
Okay, you guys. See the kids here? Right here? Over here is Sigma Chi. Right here is Alpha, Kappa, Lambda. This is where these boys kept looking. It's where it shows them right before this, in this video, where they're standing on the car right in front of the actual frat house, doing, it could be the car bash. I believe somewhere around here they did talk, they asked the guys about the bashing of the cars, right? Didn't they talk about this in here? No, there's that photo of it. Whether that's when that photo was taken or not, don't know. But these boys belong to this fraternity, Alpha Kappa Lambda, who Nick Green, whose daddy is Scott Green, who I like to call the Fixer, although he didn't do much fixing in this, did he? He did do some crying, though. And I do think that he wasn't crying for anybody but his kid, and the relief that his kid was not one that was one of those four. Now, I also believe that that's why he was so involved with this and the pressers, with everything involved in this, because he had to keep his kid's name out of the media. Yep.
PD, come over here, talk to me. Moscow PD. Hey, is that beer?
What's up?
Is that beer in your hand?
Yeah, I'm 21.
You got your ID on you?
I don't.
Okay.
I'll take it back to my apartment if you need.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Huh? No, they just took off. I told them to stop, but I'm not going to push it.
Hey, Moscow, please. What was he not going to push? Maybe it's because he, did he know that was kids from Green's, from his son's, fraternity? Probably. Then again, you never know. I mean, this could have been a message to Green. You better fix it or else. This could have been your kid. You know, there could have been something like that. Who knows? Now, Saeed, here's the thing when it comes to the what in the council when you're elected to be the president, vice president, magistrate, whatever that is, you have a role to play. Now, the magistrate is like the bailiff in a courtroom. And the magistrate is there to keep some type of semblance, you know, keep people from running away, just like here. These kids were leaving, they were going, they were on the move. And who was chasing them? None other than Saeed. I believe Saeed is the magistrate. My opinion only. Why didn't Rosendahl keep chasing those kids? And why did he not want to push it? And later on in here, when Rosendahl asked Saeed, "Are those your boys?" I believe he's referring to, are those your boys you're supposed to be keeping an eye on? Your boys, your frat brothers. Are those your boys? See, Saeed's a senior, right? He's graduating this year. Those other guys are freshmen. They're being hazed this year. Are those your boys? Now, people were mentioning the purple lights. The purple lights are very important in these cams here because the purple lights are a way of communicating from window to window. And they have different colors of purple lights. Lighter, darker, some of them flicker, some of them will dim down, then they'll come back on, dim down, come back on. Some will be fast, some will be slow. It's their way of communicating to each other without making a phone call, without sending a text, just visually looking out a window. And that goes on a lot in here. I brought that up in the very beginning. You'll be able to see it here in a second.
Yeah, you got your ID on you?
I don't.
Okay. I'm going to grab your info just because you got beer and you're walking around with it.
No, it's closed.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I live like right there. I'll take it back if you need.
No, we're just doing alcohol enforcement and running around with beer across the street.
No worries. Sorry about that.
You're good. What's your last name?
CHI.
CHI.
KH.
KH.
Space.
Yep.
ALI.
ALI.
Yep.
Okay. First name?
Said. SAID. Like said.
AID. Middle initial?
I don't have one.
Okay. Date of birth?
2001. Like.
Okay, right there he lied. That's not his name. That's not how he spells his name anyway. It's SAEED. And his last name, that's not exactly his last name either. So, just saying.
Just pull that one off. That's an awesome birthday.
Yeah, lucky birthday.
You got a driver's license?
I don't have it.
Look at all the
In general.
I do have one, yeah.
What state is it through?
Idaho.
Idaho. Okay. I'm just going to check if everything's good. Since they're not open,
As is this one.
I'll let you hang on to them.
Okay.
So-
Will I get charged with anything?
No,
or-
no.
Okay. Appreciate it.
But it's just enough for me to stop, check, make sure you're 21,
No worries.
walking
Yeah,
around
I
here in
get it.
public.
Alrighty.
Moscow 77, check one. What's that?
Am I going to take off here?
No, let me run this through dispatch and make sure you're actually 21 and give me a fake birth date or anything. Gonna be a two-part last. Charles Henry Ida, King Henry, space, Adam Lincoln Ida. First of Saeed, Sam Ida. Correction, Sam Adam Ida, David. No middle. 2001, Male through Idaho. Well, yeah.
Oh, buddy. It's funny.
Yeah, I think that's the first one I've seen.
Yeah.
One. So if that comes back good, yeah, you're free to go. Are these your boys?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just hang on, man. Yeah, let wait till dispatch comes back
Gotcha.
and says you're good.
Alright, no worries.
You guys taking off on me?
I didn't hear you, so I'm sorry about that.
You all three turned around and I pointed my flashlight at you. You said, "Hey, come here." You guys all turned around and walked away.
I thought it was just like a fake person, honestly. Yeah, like
How many fake people are out here that you've experienced?
or something. Someone trying to fuck us.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, not
How's your night?
Okay, so this right here, I believe, is their fraternity right back there. And back there, you're going to see a lot of purple lights going in and out these windows. Lots of them. I mean, they're all over the place. And there's people in this field too behind them. Like you can see flashlights back there if you look hard enough. I mean, sometimes you don't have to look hard at all, but they're back there. It's just bizarre.
Pretty good.
That's good.
Just trying to stay warm.
Was that y'all's car right there?
Yeah.
Undercover.
Well, just trying to save gas. They downgraded us from patrol cars.
Gotcha.
They gave us hybrids to save on fuel.
There you go.
smart move.
Yeah. All right. Once dispatch lets me know that actually exists, I'll catch you this. All right.
No worries.
See, he keeps looking right back at this place, right? He's got
You guys
to
over at
get there.
what?
See, he's got to get back there in a certain time slot. They have a mission they're supposed to do. This is a quest for the White Cross. And they have a mission. They have an envelope they're given. There is a map on the outside. There's instructions on the inside. It's sealed instructions on the inside of what they are to collect. Now, everybody talks about seeing a glove on this kid, right? On night, right here. I really never saw it. I never really saw it. So, but what if that was what he was supposed to collect on his mission so that it wasn't found? I'm just saying, what if? What if these boys, young adults, didn't have a freaking clue what they were up against? They knew something was going on, but nothing like this. But what happens with these fraternities and these secret societies is they put you in a criminal, very, very bad situation that could take your life. It could put you away for life. It could cause you to be hunted for the rest of your life for who knows who. The situations they're being put in is on purpose. Because what that does is it gives them a way to blackmail, to blackmail them when it comes down to when they need them. So they'll hold on to whatever it is that they've done here, right? Unbeknownst to them, for the most part, is what I believe. But nonetheless, they did something to cause this case to move the way it moved. So they had a part in it, whether they knew it or not. And it's documented. I also believe that filming, pictures, all that stuff is documented and saved for when they need to pull it out and use it to their benefit. And it could go either way. I mean, they could pull something out of it and say, all right, you guys, you did good. You gathered up, say you gathered up the glove. You got that, you got it back in a timely fashion. You was safe. No one's going to find that one. But you left the other one by the trash can, and that detective guy found it. Just saying. I'm just putting this out there. I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just saying. So, boys, since you did that, you put us all in jeopardy. You will be going in the file, and we're not done with you yet. When we're ready, we will call on you again. You won't know when it is. We might not even know when it is. But guarantee, you will be called on again. And you will be summoned. And you will do what we say. Or else we will pull out this evidence that we have gathered. And we will, come hell or high water, make this your own doing. It will look like you and you alone did this. So, what's it going to be, boys? Are you ready for your mission? So they have passed the code of silence, flying colors. They've gotten back in a timely fashion from their quest, but they didn't complete the quest. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, to see if these boys right here survive. What becomes of them, how they move through the system, whether they get great paying jobs or not, whether they become a Farley, because that could very well be what happens. Who do they choose to be the let me see, the Ben Dunnings of the world, the Jake Alts of the world, or the Farleys of the world? Who chooses this? How does a groomer become where he's at, yet a family member is way below that? Where is the schematic for the circle of life in this town? If your name starts with an F, you're basically fucked. Is that it? Plenty of them are. Be interesting to see just where that, like, what, is there a Farley who actually went to the University of Idaho and graduated? Do they have a major in anything? Are they in the community as a upstanding citizen? How does one Thompson get a good, a good rap while the other one is poop on a shoe? And next thing you know, it's soap on a rope. What is the circle of life in this town? Who eats who? Who serves it up? Who preps it? Who preps it? Is it at birth? Is it chosen at birth? Man, could you imagine? Because there are societies like that, right? I mean, it's definitely for sure there are societies like that. I mean, bloodlines and things like that, the Royals, the Richies, the Blue Bloods. Curious if, what happens if a blue blood just goes rogue? I mean, just goes freaking whack-a-doodle. What happens then to that bloodline? Do they take that blood from that bloodline that's gone wackadoodle and make a monster? Do they create a monster for their bidding, to do their bidding? That's what it felt like to me the first time I watched the Linda Lane footage. And I can go into that in a later video. But that first time I watched it, oh my gosh, I saw things I've never seen since. And it scared the living crap out of me too. I mean, it scared me. There was a monster. They unchained, and they didn't lock him down before he got away and did more things. Got out of hand. They knew he was dangerous. That's why they have him where they had him. He was locked up. This is in my mind's eye what I'm seeing, right? In the first time I saw this. They let him out on a stipulation that he had handlers, and a stipulation that you only get to go so far, and then you are back. Well, this monster didn't want to be back. This monster liked that feeling of reckless abandonment, like just balls to the walls, just gluttony and sickness just spewing from him. He was letting it all hang out. And it was weird because for the most part, he was very quiet and whispery. And then when you really heard, when they wanted to lock him down and get him again to, get him chained up and put back into the dungeon or wherever they let him out of, that's when his voice became very low, very rumbly, and very, it was echoing. It was freaking scary. And that's when he went off and he left. Like, I watched everybody that was standing around in that Linda Lane footage whispering, what are we going to do now? What have we done? Who did this? Who let this get out of hand? You're in trouble. You better get up. You better get a handle on this now. Well, it didn't work. He left. He left with a handler, one handler, in a vehicle, which I believe was a Hummer. It looked like a Hummer to me. A black Hummer. I know I sound nuts right now, but that's okay. I know I'm not. So that's all I need to know, is I know I'm not. So, don't know if they've ever caught him and got him under control and chained back up and put down wherever he was brought up from. I don't know. Maybe this was the one that maybe this happened to be one of the ones that escaped and I just saw a premonition of it. I do not know. All I know is what I saw and what I felt, and it was monstrous. It was demonic. It was so scary. This is a long video. I'm going to let this one go at this point, and I'm going to be making more because so many things are coming to my brain and I need to get them out, if you know what I mean. You guys know me well enough to know that you know what I mean. Okay, love you all. Take care. Give everybody hugs. Give yourself a hug. From me and Kitty. Okay, love you guys. Bye. Well, I had to try it. You know this is just what I do. So, I'm going to show you this prior. And then I'm going to put a little nick green over top of it. His freaking head at the top is even the same. That's bizarre. Well. Jeez. Well, I think we're going to leave it at that. I'm going to add the other one in. Okay. Pretty wild. Pretty damn wild.